And we're back. And just so that music from StreamYard, it's just so happy. I forgot about that intro music being so light and spirited, but it's great to have you back. It is, of course, the PCC Multiverse. It is Gerald Glassford. Thanks again for watching and listening. Make sure you go ahead and give us that 5-star review wherever you get your podcast. And of course, a big thank you to all of our radio stations worldwide who enjoy, who listen, and who have been with us throughout the years. Cannot thank you enough. And for everyone who has been with us throughout the years, or if you're just a brand new listener today, cannot thank you enough for being part of what we do right here in the pop culture cosmos. But it wouldn't be a PCC Multiverse as it is the weekend show without a good man indeed. It is, of course, the legendary pop culture guru who inspires me every single day. It is, of course, the great one himself, TJ Johnson. What's up, man?
Oh, making it do what it do, baby. How you feeling, G?
I am feeling a lot better now. Again, I know that our work schedules were kind of like not aligned perfectly, so I was kind of worried. I was going through the archives to see what I was going to have to spit out. Those archive shows, in the podcasting world means that you really just, let's just put it this way. You really had something else you were going to do instead of recording for that week. That's just basically what it comes out there when you hear an archive show. So let's just be honest with everybody out there. But it's great to have you here, my friend.
Oh, going a little kayfabe on the podcast world. Don't be
Yeah,
giving
yeah,
away
no
all the secrets
kayfabe
now.
indeed. But they kind of know when there's something either wrong or something that they're doing. Like, I was on vacation. I had to put up some stuff that was pre-recorded. That that's one thing, a couple weeks ago. But this one, I was kind of getting a little worried. But I'm glad you bailed me out once again. It is, of course, TJ Johnson. Great to have you here. There's a lot of things we need to talk about and discuss. But I think we'll start off with some money. It all starts off with the moolah because we've seen in recent days the parent company for both the UFC and WWE, TKO, make some nice money deals. Again, stop me if you've heard this before. Where do you want to go with first, UFC or the WWE, my friend?
I think they can both kick rocks right now. I'm so annoyed with all the above. Uh, I'm so- it's all money. It starts with money, it ends with money, and the problem is we as the fans are the ones that suffer for it. So I'll let you pick whichever one you want to go for. I've got enough to empty the clip on both of them.
Okay, well, one actually might benefit consumers a little more, actually a lot more, and one kind of won't. So we'll go with the one that kind of won't first, since you and I
Oh,
have a
okay.
little bit
That's
more,
yeah,
I guess, affinity for it
yeah, yeah,
than mixed martial arts, and that's the WWE. And
yeah, yeah.
WWE just signed, I believe, a little over $1.5 billion rights deal for their PLEs, the former PPVs, which I believe in some form or fashion around the world, you may still down the line be able to go ahead and purchase somewhere on pay-per-views if you cannot get ESPN, because ESPN now has the rights as of WrestleMania next year for the foreseeable future for an estimated, again, I think $1.6 billion. A nice chunk of change for just the PLEs, premium live events only. I want to hear your thoughts on this because ESPN is about ready to unveil a streaming channel of their own, which is a concentrated effort of all the entire ESPN stuff. It's going to be under a one umbrella type deal at $29.99 a month. Oh joy, oh joy. I know that that's going to be a little bit more expensive than what people were paying for with their PLEs on WWE on Peacock. And also did want to add in there, if you do have ESPN, you're still paying for on cable. In many areas, you may be able to get the PLEs through that outlet, as far as it's concerned. But they didn't exactly specify who gets what when. And I think it's going to weed itself out by the time that WrestleMania comes out next year, you'll have a lot clearer idea of exactly whether or not you get it. Because if you still pay for ESPN and cable the old-fashioned way, there's a chance you may get it. And then if you've weaned yourself off cable, you've clipped the cable, then you got to go ahead and pay $30 a month for it. Your thoughts on this, my friend, in any way, shape, or form, whether you go back to buying cable or whether you go into this new streaming service ESPN has, by the time WrestleMania comes around next year, you're going to be paying a little bit more, well, actually a lot more, for your WWE PLEs.
You know, I think there were a lot of people that expected this merger with TKO to to reap some kind of benefits and to be something that was going to be a very very cool thing, kind of make it a little meta. Now you have UFC and WWE under the same parent company, and what could you really do with that? And there were a lot of theories and a lot of ideas about what could possibly happen with it. I can guarantee you that paying an additional $30 a month for access to premium live events, PLEs, as the WWE likes to affectionately refer to them now, as opposed to PPVs, which they did back in the day, I can't imagine that that was on the top of their list of things that the consumer thought, hey, I really can't wait to do this. I cannot wait to spend an additional $30 a month because I don't have the cable. I clipped the cable 3, 4 years ago when everybody thought that that was the right thing to do. And I got sucked into all these other streaming services, which ultimately cost me more than a cable subscription did in the first place. It's this is absolutely pure and simple a money grab. And I think the frustration, as you and I kind of talked about on a few weeks ago show in regards to everybody just going after the dollars, that there's so much that gets lost in translation. There's so much that gets lost um, in the effort or the pursuit of the dollar bill. And as these companies are just going to take more and more money, the people that are ultimately getting screwed or the people that are ultimately hurting the most on these deals are the everyday people who are just trying to find some type of entertainment to enjoy in the middle of whatever situation they have going on, right? We are living in times where people are unsure how they're going to pay some bills. They're unsure how they're going to afford, you know, basic essentials. We've got to deal with this dreaded T word that's been on the tip of our tongues for the last 6 months, and that's tariffs. Like there's so many things that dive into our uncertainty and just uneasiness in life that on top of all that, one of the things that a lot of people enjoy doing, the target demographic of 17 or 18, 20, I don't know what the core demographic is. I think 20 to 44 or 45. I don't know. That demographic enjoyed was watching wrestling and watching just things where they can kind of sit back and just enjoy themselves and not really have to figure out how they're going to pay to do it anymore. That was the benefit of having all these streaming services. Peacock had WWE attached to it, which had the premium live events bundled in with that. But now you're going to have to stream your WWE through Netflix. You have to stream it through whatever little bit left through Peacock. And then your premium live events are going to be solely through ESPN. Like I've got to go through 4 different streaming services to access the same thing that I could have done when the WWE had its own streaming service back in 5, 6 years ago. Like it's all done nothing more than making more expensive for the consumer to enjoy the product that you're putting out. And at some point, somebody has to look at it and say, at no point is this more convenient for the consumer. The only thing that this is more convenient for is lining my pockets with more money. And yeah, that's great for you in your pockets. And I'm all for the mighty hustle and the mighty dollar bill being what you're hustling for. But it should not always have to come at the expense of somebody else. And I think that's the problem that I really have with this. Let's take away the watered down product that we're getting with the WWE and the TKO merger, which we'll talk about. We could have a whole separate show on all the stuff that they're doing on another day. But the fact that we are now have to subject ourselves to paying more to get the same thing that we've been getting, and quite frankly, feels like a watered down product as of the last 6 months. It just them dollars don't add up to me. So I can tell you personally that it's going to be very difficult for me to catch some of these PLEs because I'm just not spending the extra $30 a month to have another streaming service access when I already have ESPN Plus, I already have Disney, and I already have Hulu bundled up into one. I have HBO Max, I've got Amazon Prime, I've got Paramount. I've got like all these other streaming platforms that I have, and now you're asking me to spend an additional $30 on top of that just to access the PLEs once a month. Like it's absolutely insane to me, and it's beyond irritating. It is beyond frustrating, and I just don't understand the hustle for the dollar bill. But when it starts coming at the expense of everyone else, it's a bit of a problem to me. So I think it's stupid. I think it's asinine. I will not mince words about that in any way, shape, and or form. I am absolutely um, discouraged at their decision to do that, amongst other decisions that the TKO group has made since their merger with the WWE. It's just not been. There's been nothing that's really been positive out of this merger. I have yet to really see it. I mean, creatively, they tried some stuff and they dropped a few F bombs on the first Raw on Netflix, and they had a little bit of fun with it. But since then, what's been the real joy? What's been the real benefit of it? Like I don't know. These mergers happen, and you expect these big things, and they don't happen, and it's like, well, what was the point of all that? Well, what was all the hoopla for? What was all the pomp and circumstance about it for? When ultimately we're the ones getting screwed. You want us to be excited about a merger. You want us to be excited about this new venture that you have, but in the middle of that excitement, by the way, pay an additional $30 a month so you can actually see the things that you've been wanting to see the whole time. Like it's absolutely asinine to me. So I'm not a fan. I'm not even going to pretend like I am at all. Not even a little bit.
But if you're a TKO stockholder, or if
Okay.
you're inside the TKO umbrella, it has been more of windfall. I think they've utilized uh, every single expenditure outlet that they have very well. If you're looking at it from a business standpoint, even better than what
Absolutely.
Vince McMahon probably could have done
Mhm.
if it would have been left under his auspices and not sold if he not sold under TKO. I think TKO has stretched the WWE dollar very far. I'm not trying to side with them at all because I think it's just for the consumer. Anytime you hike up the bill for something you've already had, it's and especially substantially like this, it's terrible. But from a business standpoint, they are doing everything they can to wring every single dollar out of the WWE and UFC, professional bull riding, or whatever else they have there under the auspices of TKO. But uh, I think from a business standpoint, they're trying to do what they can to. I don't even know if it's appeasing the stockholders. They always put it as far as appeasing the stockholders. It's also just the bottom line as far as what they want to do. They see a property and they're trying to utilize everything with it. They haven't even sold the rights after it's over with on Peacock for the WWE library. So we don't even know where that's going to go and how much that could go for. Potentially, that could go for a decent bit of chunk of change as well. So there's still with the WWE things that they can do to go ahead and expound their dollar even further, but at the cost of what? Like you said, exactly. I'm very disappointed as a consumer because you and I can't afford, or you and I don't want to afford all of this expenditures for this one product, which again has had some serious ups and downs creatively over the years. So we don't know exactly what we want to do. I live in Las Vegas. The tickets are just about ready to go on sale for WrestleMania next year. I don't want to pay that extra money or the expenditure several $100s for it, even though it's right in my backyard and I'm a huge wrestling fan, TJ. So it's just disappointing that it is becoming more and more out of reach for the average consumer. And we haven't even gotten to the UFC part, but the UFC part gets a little bit of light for us out there. But yeah, as far as the WWE is concerned, it is really, really disappointing to see where this has gone as far as the affordability of professional wrestling at the highest level, TJ.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's disappointing. It's frustrating. I don't know. I don't really have a synonym that I can use to put it. as plainly as that. Like it's just it's about their bottom line. And again, I get it. It's a business. I like you. I understand that concept. Doesn't mean I like it. I don't like it. I don't like it a little bit. I don't like it at all. It's very, very, very disappointing.
On the other end of the spectrum, my friend, is the UFC deal that they signed with Paramount. As you know, Paramount was recently the approval, the sale went through, accommodations were made. Money had changed hand as far as the Skydance media rights deal, as far as taking over Paramount. Paramount has since spent big money on South Park. They're supposedly going to spend big money on the creators of Stranger Things to get those guys over from Netflix. Well, lo and behold, they have already made a big money deal. One of the first really big actions since the merger has closed, and that is a $7.7 billion deal with the UFC. But it's going to be possibly favorable for fans because that $7.7 billion deal, UFC will now be showcased as a way to increase buys for Paramount Plus, which you have already, and also as well at times CBS. I know that there's been conflicting statements made by the TKO CEO Mark Shapiro and CEO of UFC Dana White, as far as if there will be any other fights or major events that the UFC will hold that people will have to pay extra for. But if I'm Paramount, if I'm paying $7.7 billion, I want it all under my umbrella. I want it all under my loop when it comes to the UFC. $7.7 billion should give me the right to go ahead and say, you know what, UFC, I will show on my networks exactly what I want.
Hmm. You know what's funny about this deal, or this particular portion of the deal, is I'm gonna be honest with you. I was so focused on the WWE portion, I didn't even know. I didn't even know about the UFC portion. And I don't know if that's a detriment to UFC, maybe not talking about it enough, or if it's a shame on TKO for how they're stretching every penny out of WWE fans, that I didn't know about it. This actually is not a bad move for consumers, and
No. Yeah. I mean, you're
it's not a bad move for
saving.
consumers at all.
Well,
Yeah,
I expect Paramount Plus to be increased in price. I think you could pretty much guarantee
yeah, you
that,
can
my
guarantee
friend.
that. Yeah,
But that will still save you potentially hundreds, if not over $1,000 a year over what you would have to pay if you bought all the stuff off of the ESPN Plus platform
right.
or the straight up PPVs. So it could potentially save you a lot of money if you are a
Oh, yeah,
UFC
yeah.
devotee, my friend.
Yeah, you're not wrong. You're absolutely not wrong about that. And again, I feel bad that I feel almost bad that I didn't know about that, because that's such a potential, right? It's such a potentially big thing for consumers that that's actually a rare win in an economy and in a world where they're gonna squeeze every dollar out of you that they can. So nice job.
Nice job indeed. Again, I do expect Paramount Plus to raise its monthly price. I don't know by how much. You'll have to wait and see out there, but TJ already has it. So you at least get UFC around the corner and quite a bit of it for $7.7 billion. Whether or not it's the entire deal for UFC remains to be seen and remains to be confirmed in one unified offer. But for $7.7 billion, you better sure as heck get a lot of UFC coverage on CBS and Paramount Plus. I'll just say that. Otherwise, it's going to look like a pretty bad deal for Paramount. But I'm assuming that the Skydance Media Paramount team that put this together did so with the understanding it's going to display a lot of what's going to go on with the UFC going forward. So yeah, I just wanted to go ahead and make sure that was covered for everybody out there with the WWE and UFC. One is not benefiting consumers, and one ultimately or potentially could be benefiting
Right.
consumers. So I want to hear your thoughts out there on both the UFC and WWE rights deals. Is this something that you are concerned about? If you're a WWE fan, if you're a UFC fan, are you excited to pay potentially a lot less on UFC pay-per-views or UFC fight nights or UFC numbered events? Please let us know your thoughts. popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. But my friend, before the half-hour break, I wanted to go ahead and just touch on the box office a little bit for this weekend because there is still a little bit of summer box office left. Bob Odenkirk, he's not a nobody. He's not just called Saul anymore. He is Mr. Nobody once again as Nobody 2 hits theaters this weekend. On the plus side, it's a under $30 million budgeted movie, but it's getting solid reviews. They say it's not too far off from the original movie, which was a surprise hit, which I saw, which I liked.
Mm.
Your thoughts on Nobody 2? It was almost like me a couple weeks ago where I just wanted to have a vacation. No matter what went right or no matter what went wrong, I just wanted a vacation with the family. And can't we just give Bob Odenkirk some time away on vacation with the family, TJ?
That would be nice. I have this love-hate relationship with Hollywood, and I have this love-hate relationship with pulling sequels to movies that don't necessarily need a sequel. And I thought Nobody, very similar to the original John Wick, it didn't need a sequel. Great, we got, obviously four John Wicks and working on the fifth, I'm sure. I think it's in development or whatever the case may be for
Yeah,
that.
he ain't dead. Sorry. He
No,
ain't
yeah,
dead.
he's not dead. He wanted to be dead, but yeah, he's not dead. Anyways, I digress. I didn't expect this. I was kind of hoping that it wouldn't happen, but now that it's here, I'm gonna enjoy it. I'm gonna enjoy another trip with Nobody and enjoy what Bob, as I affectionately refer to him as, whatever. That's the name that I have for him. That's what I'm gonna go with. I'm not gonna call him by his full government name because it was not. Uh,
Mhm.
I'm really enjoying this idea of this everyman who isn't really an everyman, but I just can't help but look at him like an everyman. Like he just doesn't give. He's so unassuming, and I've seen a lot of stuff behind the scenes. They've had a great marketing team work with like TikTok and all these little things behind the scenes and collaborations that he's done with different people. So it's been kind of fun and exciting to see that aspect of it. I'm curious as about how the story is going to unfold and how ultimately he gets back into what he ultimately gets back into. I won't spoil anything, but it's going to be interesting to see how all that plays out. So I'm excited. I'm looking forward to another just exciting, fun. You don't really have to think too hard about it. Movie that you can go and just enjoy and kind of break away from the monotony of every day and just have some popcorn and your favorite drink and kick back and enjoy it at the movie theater. So looking forward to this one actually. Looking forward to it quite a bit.
Absolutely. It's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. I know that should probably be high up there in the box office. I don't know if it's enough to beat Weapons, which in its second week should do well as well. It should not have the same kind of horror second week fall that many of them do. But again, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see how that plays itself out. But I think Nobody 2 will do well. It's a nice, tight 90 minutes. I think that's smart.
Yep,
You don't
agreed.
stretch those. Yeah, you don't stretch those type of movies out. You just boom, 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 and then you get right to the point, get right to the ending, and then there you go. You make a nice, clean cut so people have a distinct impression of your movie. Absolutely. So I'm looking forward to see how Nobody 2 does at the box office. I know some movies on the way that are getting reviewed all over the place include Americana with Sydney Sweeney, who right now is being talked about as far as her controversial jeans ad, which I won't go into, but
Yeah,
it's
yep,
it's
yep,
it's
yep.
yeah. But also Spike Lee and Denzel Washington with Highest to Lowest. That's also getting some very favorable reviews out there. So we'll see how that one performs when it finally gets released into wide release onto theaters. So I'm looking forward to seeing how that one is. I want to see if Spike Lee still has it. And I believe because I don't think Spike Lee. I, how should I say this, my friend? Spike Lee, when he could still pull off really, really good films. But he's had such a long career now. At some points, um, it's so hard when your first film is so good and so well remembered. Uh,
Mm.
and and he's had really high successes over the years, and some movies that are just, and they're not bad. They're just forgotten about really quickly. So I'm hoping that Highest to Lowest will bring back Spike Lee back to the forefront, because he is one of the great American auteurs of directing. And I hopefully that this homage to Kurosawa, one of the greatest filmmakers of all time in his own right,
Hmm. Hmm.
will be able to go ahead and get this back to the forefront. And it's funny because Denzel Washington says, yeah, he doesn't really care about his Oscars because he can't take them with him when he dies. So if that's the case, can I have one or two of those Oscars if I can, please? But your thoughts on Highest to Lowest before we hit the break?
You know, like you. I kind of want to see if he still got it. Um,
Mhm,
there's a famous quote that you either die the hero or you live long to see yourself become the villain. You might have heard of that quote from a movie that you might have seen called The Dark Knight.
mhm.
Very, very, very much true. And especially, you also get these comments from these older gentlemen like Denzel, who has been on a media blitz as of late. He's got a lot of I guess there's a certain level of I don't give a beep when you get to a certain age in the
Yes.
industry, because he's at that age now where he's just like, I'm just gonna say what I want, and you take it how you want to take it. I'm not interested in 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 playing the verbal judo to make you feel better. Like, he's very, very open about it. So it's good to see these guys in that element, and it's good to see if, with them being in that element, if they can still bring it the way they've brought it so many years prior to. So I don't I'd be lying to you if I said this is one of those that I have to get out and see immediately. But
Mhm.
it is something that I'm curious of, and I will be watching closely, because I'm rooting. Truth be told, I'm rooting for it to do better than expected.
I was just looking at Facebook the other day. Yes, I'm sorry, I still look at Facebook. Occasionally it pops up, especially to talk to my friend here and coordinate shows with. When I do, though, one of the things I see every now and then is charts from bygones era, as far as either movie charts or album charts or song charts and things of that nature. Where they stack up. And it's funny. Somebody flashed up a box office chart from, I think, about 2 or 3 weeks in would Do the Right Thing, and I just noticed how it was already out of the top 10. And it's
Mm,
interesting to see there were a couple blockbuster hits. Batman, for instance, was in that, still high up in that mix. But it was interesting to see the films above it that have not resonated, that earned more money at the box office than Do the Right Thing. So it's just interesting to see which movies have
mhm.
in that list, and it was like 20 movies long at that point. This is the top 20 for that week. Just which movies had still persisted in our culture throughout time, and that and the ones that haven't. But so it's just interesting to see that it's not always based on initial success that stays within our zeitgeist, of our or pantheon of our culture, in regards to which products of pop culture that we like so much, even from its initial offering. So it's just interesting to see, my friend, how Do the Right Thing wasn't really widely watched or viewed or accepted at the time, but much appreciated for years and years later on.
Yeah, agreed. And it's another one of those films that, later on, almost like, think of like a Blade Runner, where it may not have that same lore of Blade Runner, but it's got the same idea of, it maybe didn't, like, I don't know, set the box office on fire, but it's, over the time, over years, developed a bit of a cult following. And a lot of Spike Lee's films age better than they come out. I
Yeah.
think Do the Right Thing is one of them. I remember, was it Devil in a Blue Dress? Was that Spike Lee? That's not Spike Lee.
No, no.
What was the other one that was Spike Lee? Oh my goodness, now I'm drawing a blank.
Well,
And I
Malcolm
goes to say
X.
that. Well, yeah,
Yeah,
Malcolm X. I'm thinking of there's another one.
Summer of
He did
Sam,
with,
I really like. Jungle Fever, he got
what's the other
game.
one he did with that's it. He got game. I was looking for the other one he did with Denzel. I was thinking the name of it. He got game. That's another one that while I thought it was a great outing for Ray Allen at the time and a very, very young Rosario Dawson. Um, it seemed to garner much more fandom and much more uh notoriety, if you will, as it aged. A lot of his movies in particular seem to do that. And I think that's an interesting it's an interesting dilemma because ultimately you want to be remembered, you want to stand the test of time, but at the same token, you want to make some money while you're there. So I'm curious to see if he's still got it, and I'm curious to see if his trend of movies that don't always sell well out the gate, but ultimately become favorites, kind of continues.
We will find out, but it will be highest to lowest. So it's when it comes out in wide release, go ahead and catch it. But if you have thoughts on the movies at the box office, are you going back? Are you going to go see Weapons, Nobody 2, or something else? Please let us know your thoughts. Popculturecosmos at yahoo.com. Well, we're a half hour in, a half hour to go here at the PCC Multiverse. It is the great one, TJ Johnson, along with me, Gerald Glassford. Thanks again for watching, listening. Truly appreciate you stopping by. Wanted to go ahead and cover our world of video games that TJ and I, yes, as maybe a guy's a little bit on the touch on the older side. TJ, just past 21, and I'm just past, just under 91. So if that's the case, we still have an affinity for the video games thing. So, but it's funny because I was watching a show. Is there a thing with the younger audiences called, are they considered gamers? Or are they using games as more of a social environment? I think it was Sifted that I was watching on that. And I was like, yeah, I still think you could call them games. If you spend time playing a game, whether it's
You're a
on your
gamer.
mobile device,
There you go.
exactly, you're a gamer. That's to me. It doesn't care. I don't care if you use a social spirit, it's experiment to meet with or talk with other people on a daily basis. If you're still playing games and still enjoying games, so I know my daughter, my youngest daughter, when she plays games, it's to go ahead and be more of a social environment with her friends, as you and adjacent with it. And she's still a gamer. She's still a gamer at heart there. So we'll go ahead and call that. It's a different type of gaming than maybe what we experienced in previous decades, but it is still, to me, gaming nonetheless. And I think TJ, you would agree with me on that as well.
Well, absolutely. I think, one of the funniest things about gaming culture is that there's this idea that there's not necessarily an age limit, but there is you have to do things a certain way. So for instance, I'm not allowed to play games on easy, otherwise I didn't really play the game. I'm not allowed to adjust the difficulty to do certain things because then I'm not a true gamer. When listen, I pay my money to be to be entertained and have a good time doing it. I don't pay dollars to get abused move after move, life after life to get incrementally better unless I'm enjoying my time doing it. So if that makes me old as a gamer, then I'm an old gamer. But at the end of the day, I am and always will be a gamer, and I have zero problem identifying as such. It's another beauty of getting older. You stop caring about a lot of things. And I just don't care if they consider me a gamer or not because guess what? I am still a gamer.
There you go, indeed, absolutely. And I believe so am I, as I will go ahead and venture out into the Battlefield 6 beta this weekend and get destroyed, but I still want to go ahead and check it out. And even then, once I get owned several times, I have maybe 2 kills to 99 deaths. I have probably jet planes landing on my head again as I did in previous Battlefields. I will still call myself a gamer, indeed. But my friend, there are several games which we need to talk about. I wanted to go ahead and first, yes, in recent days, Mafia. Yes, the Mafia saga lives with Mafia, the Old Country. I don't know if this is something that you're going to get back into. I think on the beneficial side, it's a shorter venture than the really open world games of Mafia in the past. I think that was a smarter designed. This looks like maybe it's a more tight narrative because of it. Maybe you could say it's a less expensive game to produce, which is the reason why it got produced. Your thoughts on Mafia the Old Country? It's getting okay reviews.
Yeah.
Not great, not bad. It's okay. But I want to hear your thoughts on Mafia the Old Country because, again, this is something that, you know what, it might be something if you need to scratch that Mafia itch, it may just do that for you as far as being in the old world of
Yeah,
Mafia style Italy.
I think that, and while I have very limited exposure to Mafia. I played Mafia 3 maybe a handful of times. Never got very far in that. But I will say that what's interesting about the old world Mafia game is that it's got its very unique stance on saying, nope, we're going to keep our price point at 49.99. And I think the funny thing about it is I know more about that aspect of the game than the game itself. So it's, that's not a detriment to them because again, Mafia just unfortunately was never my style of game. It was never my jam, as the kids like to say. But I do appreciate a game that says, "Hey, look, we don't need to charge you $70." This is a very loud train, so please forgive me. I wish this was a little quieter. But I don't need to charge you $70 for an experience like this. We're gonna enjoy this game as is at the price point of 49.99. You're not going to get this huge sprawling open world experience like it's a Ubisoft title or anything of that nature. We're going to give you a clean experience. You're going to have fun, and we're going to charge you 49.99 for it. And for that, as far as I'm concerned, they're winning because they're not gonna sugarcoat it. They're not gonna play games about it. They're not gonna hike up the price just to hike up the price. They're giving you what it is and what it isn't right off the gate so you can make the decision as a consumer to say I'm going to or not going to support this. And in a world where everybody seems to just be wanting to do whatever they want to do and not giving a real reason for it, raising the prices just to raise the prices, I can appreciate the transparency here. So it makes me have that much more affinity for that game.
I think it's going to be a solid under the radar hit because, like you said, the price point means everything. So people that will be deterred by paying 70 or in some cases possibly $80 for games may turn to a game like Mafia as far as being able to play games, newer games that they can afford. So Mafia the Old Country may reap the benefits from that. We'll have to wait and see. Madden 2026 is also out. That is a full price $70 game for a yearly installment once again. It's getting okay reviews. I know that IGN gave it an 8, but the Metascore right now is about 74. So uh, this seems like right in line with another Madden. But the thing is with
Yeah.
Madden 2026, my question is, do you feel the need to go ahead and upgrade this year for it? Is there an itch like it's with Call of Duty? At what point do you just say, you know what, maybe I don't know, maybe I can skip a year or two or three? With Call of Duty, it's now a lot easier to get into because now Call of Duty is part of Game Pass. But with Madden, it's still out there. It's still a foundational piece for EA, but really, when it comes down to it, the shine has rubbed off. And even with the success, the sheer success of the NFL and the fact that it's going to be all over NFL advertising and whatnot, I just feel like people have to say, you know what? I don't have to get that yearly edition of Madden like I used to in the past.
Yeah, I think that consumers are just getting a little bit more I don't want to say smarter with their dollar. I want to say they're just becoming much more prudent in what they're going to spend their dollar on. I think that we as the consumer are looking at experiences and saying, you know what, like you just mentioned, I think I could skip this one. And quite frankly, this will be the second year in a row I've skipped because it doesn't do it for me in a world of annual releases, your Maddens, your 2Ks, your MLB the shows, your yearly Call of Duty, be it Black Ops or a numbered entry, your WWE titles. There's so many annual releases that Now, after a while, you start looking at each one. It's like, I think I'm gonna pick and choose what I do with my money based off of the sport that I like the most. If you're a football fan, then this is gonna be an absolute no-brainer. You're gonna pick it up. 8 out of 10 is a very decent score. It's not anything. It's actually it's a good score. I shouldn't even say decent. A decent is like a 7. 8 out of 10 is a good score. Um, I don't think it's reinventing the wheel, but I think it's polishing up the wheel enough to where it feels like a better experience. I'm sure the animations feel a little bit smoother. I mean, some of the video of the gameplay that I've watched, it looks much more convincingly like a football game, like a game that I'll see on the television as opposed to a video game that I'm playing. I don't know if the lighting. I'm sure is a little bit different, and they use some different uh, animation tactics. But my point is, this isn't going to be for everybody. Everybody's not going to come in and say, I've got to get this game. Um, Gone are those days. This is going to be much more of a, hey, it's football. I always buy football every year. So that's going to be the reason why you purchase it. Or you're going to purchase it just because you love the game of football. But the casual fans are not going to be as enticed to grab it. Um, the people that get it annually, if you're getting it annually, then you're probably going to pick it up anyways. So it's really not I feel like they need to do a better job of catering to the people that are not the annual purchases and to make it much more um, inviting for everybody to try. Now, obviously, you can do your sliders and customize it to your skill level, which is great. But if people don't understand Madden, they're not really going to understand the sliders anyway. So they've got to find a way to make it appealing and still make it fun for a wider audience. And it's a tough balancing act, man. I'm sure that it's so much easier said than done to make a balanced game, make it fun for newcomers, make it a challenge for people that have already been there without cheating. Like there's so much nuance that goes into it. Obviously, I'm not a video game creator, so it's easy for me to talk that garbage from the couch. But the truth of the matter is, as a consumer, there's not enough change that warrants another purchase for me. Not this year. When I have to worry about another annual installment of NBA 2K coming out in another month, maybe a month and a half at this point. Um, so yeah, it's a no for me. But that's not a detriment to the Madden game because it's Madden, and if you love Madden, you'll purchase it. Um, and if you don't love Madden, then you probably don't really have a reason to purchase it, unless you just want to have the latest and greatest. And unfortunately, for a lot of consumers nowadays, would have to be a little bit more conscious about what they're spending their hard-earned dollar on. That's not enough of a reason anymore. So we'll see. We'll see. The average reviews or the good reviews, I expect those. Like I said, the gameplay looks pretty good. It just doesn't seem like anything that's going to wow me out of my seat, and therefore it's going to be hard for me to come up out of my money.
I will say though, one of the things I get to do over the course of the summer is I do get a chance to go to summer league for the NBA, and what they have always at the NBA 2K26 this year, for instance, what they usually have is a early feed or early slice of NBA of what the upcoming NBA 2K games are. And what I saw looked pretty good. People were playing it, enjoying it. It looks a little bit crisper on the graphics, a little bit sharper on the effects. The microtransactions, I'm assuming, will still be there, which is kind of irritating. And this is now the world we live in, where you spend $70 in game, but still have a ton of other things you have to spend on to get a full experience, whether it's Madden, whether it's FIFA, whether it's NBA 2K, what have you, on all these annual games, on almost all these annual games, and it's just that's the part I don't like in regards to that, getting the ultimate team or whatever you want to call it, as far as having the add-ons. So I'm interested to see how the microtransactions, again, which everybody repeatedly says no to, yet are still there for a reason and still make these companies hundreds of millions of dollars each and every year. So somebody's buying all these loot boxes, aka microtransactions. Somebody is spending that money on it. So it'll be interesting to see whether it's Madden 2026, which again has gotten solid reviews, whether it's NBA 2K26 or what have you, to see how well they're still supported at this stage of their respective lineages. So we'll see what happens there. But yeah, it's interesting, my friend, because again, somebody is spending money on these microtransactions.
Somebody indeed. I can tell you who it's not though. This guy.
And same here as well. I just don't believe in it. the microtransactions that I spent on were full-fledged DLCs. Like, for instance, if they were an expansion off of a really good game that I enjoyed.
Hmm.
Like, for instance, Knights of the Nine with Oblivion and all that. So that would have been Shivering Isles with Oblivion. Those were expenditures I didn't mind making. But getting a cuter design for my multiplayer character, or a specific card set for FIFA, that just
That
doesn't
ain't it.
work for me.
Yeah,
No,
that ain't it.
that
Yeah,
ain't it.
I agree.
But
I think the last time I purchased a standalone or a expansion was Liberty City. No, yeah, like, Liberty City. No, what was the
no, I mean,
expansion for
yeah, I know
Cyberpunk?
for Cyberpunk. For
Yeah,
Cyberpunk, yes,
but
the one with
was it
Idris Elba.
Liberty? What was the name of it?
Oh, let
Fallen
me go.
Liberty, whatever
I'll get it
whatever the
for you.
expansion for Cyberpunk 2077 was. That was the last time that I paid for an expansion. I really really enjoyed what I
Phantom
paid
Liberty.
for. Phantom Liberty. I knew it was Liberty something. Liberty City. That's
You
Grand
just
Theft
say the
Auto.
one with Idris Elba, and they'll know what you're talking about.
Yeah, that's what I got. I just call it the Idris Elba expansion, and everybody will know what I'm
There you
talking
go.
about.
Absolutely.
That should have been the name of it. But yeah, I agree with you. There has to be a very special I don't want to say bond, but it's got to be something for me to buy the expansion. As hard as it is to get through a backlog now, you want me to play the full game, which, can roughly be 30 to 40 hours, depending on what you're playing and your play style. And then you want me to spend money on an additional expansion that'll tack on another 15, 20 hours when I have a backlog the size of the state of Illinois to get through. Like it's a hard sell for a lot of these games. So for if you get me to buy the expansion, it's really worth it. It's to me, it's really really worth it. It's got to be. So I'm with you, brother.
Uh,
I'm not paying no VC. I'm not paying just to be paying for an expansion pack. Like it's just not. It's not that deep for me.
yeah, a cute little costume or what have you. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's not for me as well. Maybe it's because we're older gamers or whatnot. But yeah, if you have thoughts out there on Mafia, the old country, or also as well some of the stuff that's going on there with Madden 2026, please let us know. Or microtransactions, you can always vent with us on microtransactions. Please let us know. popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. But before we get away from video games, and before I close it out with two things, one is coming to an unceremonious end, and the other one should have come to an unceremonious end even before it came out. I want to go ahead and mention Obsidian. Obsidian, all these delays by other companies or projects that get failed or whatnot and or canceled. There was another one this week with Contraband from Xbox. You see Obsidian. You see Obsidian, and they just are putting out stuff. I mean, Avowed, whatever you thought about, I enjoyed Avowed. I played 75 hours of Avowed. I played that game to death, and I enjoyed it. The
Right.
gameplay on it was absolutely some of the best gameplay I've played in a long time. I can't say the same about the story, but yeah, the gameplay itself was absolutely fantastic. The Outer Worlds 2, while it will no longer be priced at $80, it is still expected to be a really solid game in its own right when it comes out later this year. And oh, by the way, the studio just put out a sequel to their underground hit or under the radar hit Grounded from years back, Grounded 2, which is, I guess, in early access. It still is not in full I guess release mode per se, but if you're in Game Pass, you can play it right now. Grounded 2, it seems to be winning a lot of people over. It's if Honey I Shrunk the Kids was ever something in your vernacular, this probably will do it for you because it shrinks our heroes back to the world of bug life once again as you fight the various world as far as from a not a microscopic, but a very tiny level as far as insect level, as far as it's concerned. And people are absolutely loving it. Your thoughts on this survival slash action game, Grounded 2, which is really earning a lot of respect from people. But the biggest thing is, where is Obsidian going right where everyone else in the game industry seemingly goes wrong?
I think it kind of goes back to the conversation that we had in regards to the other co-op games that we've talked about in months prior to playing a way out, playing um oh my goodness, Split Fiction, and these other games. They're giving us experiences, and a game at some point has to be more than just graphics. It has to be more than just a catchy soundtrack. It has to be more than just visuals that are out of this world. It has to provide you with an experience that is one that you don't typically get. And Obsidian seems to be nailing that formula as of late. Obviously, with the amount of time that you spent with Avowed, and what would you say, 75 hours? That's an insane amount of time. But that just goes to show you how much you enjoyed the gameplay, how much you enjoyed the world, how much you enjoyed the entire package that the game had, as opposed to just enjoying, the graphics for a little while, or just enjoying great gameplay, but the story suffers. Like it's a package deal, and the more people understand that you have to really nail the package and not just one aspect of game making, you'll have titles that are much more accessible, and that people want to spend more time with, like Avowed, like Cyberpunk once it was all fixed. Those are the kind of games that you'll keep coming back to, and you keep wanting to experience again and again and again. People are playing The Witcher 3 for the umpteenth time because of the entire package that comes with it, not just one aspect of it. So as developers understand their consumers better and understand their audiences better and what their audiences are into, then hopefully we'll start to see this become more of the norm and not the exception.
Well, we'll see what happens, but yeah, Grounded 2, it's available in early access right now. You can play it. A lot of people are having fun with it on Game Pass. Hello, Game Pass, which we haven't even gone to, and we have to touch on this at a later episode, my friend, about the fact that we have now gotten a little taste of how, for all the people who in the industry who smack on Game Pass, earning $5 billion in a year the basis, that's something we definitely have to touch on as far as the overall theme of Game Pass in regards to that. But again, that we're going to save that for another day. But if you have thoughts out there on Grounded 2, because that's a half-hour conversation of itself
Yeah,
at
it is.
least.
Yeah, it
Uh,
is.
but if you have thoughts on Grounded 2 now available on Game Pass, please let us know at popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. But before we head on out, two last things. Something we don't really touch on as much on this show as far as the HBO series and Just Like That, which is been ended. It is a finale. It's a series finale after 3 years, um, emanating from the original Sex and the City series. This is a series that once had, we've seen it before, about great heights for a series that unfortunately has seen better days, and this series seen better days, and HBO said it's not going to see any more days because it's gone. Your thoughts on and Just Like That before we get to one of the darkest periods in our history on this show here coming up in a few minutes.
Yes, Mio. You know what? I wish I had more information on that. I am not 100% sure. I'm not equipped enough to speak on that particular show because I haven't followed that one, unfortunately.
And that explains everything right there in a
Yep.
nutshell. So
Yep.
yes, I mean, I don't think anybody at this. I think there were the limited number of people over the course the season when it returned. This when and Just Like That debuted. It debuted to big numbers because people were trying to relive Carrie Bradshaw's adventures in Sex and the City. Obviously, not having Kim Cattrall come back for that series affected it, and as time went on, they were just not able to re-engage the audience. And the second season did much less than the first one, and the third season did much less than the second. And as we may see with The Last of Us, that may be something that might prove a death knell. But we'll have to wait and see how for The Last of Us. But definitely, we've already seen it for And Just Like That. So I just wanted to acknowledge it before we went out. But before we go out, this might be one of the darkest points in pop culture cosmos history, my friend, because how long have you and I been friends?
Oh, goodness. Now, Gerald, we were first introduced on Voice from the Underground 5, 6 years ago at this point. I've been
Okay.
married almost 7 years. Yeah, about 5, 6. Actually, probably before that, maybe 6 or 7 years at this point.
So, as my good friend, I did tell you the other day, I would say, in all consciousness, to try and avoid what I'm thinking at this point is the worst movie I have seen this century, and quite
Oh
possibly the worst
no.
movie
Is
I've
this War
ever
of the
seen.
Worlds?
This is War of the Worlds. I also
Uh,
sent a text to Josh because he has heard the same thing. I have
uh,
suffered through it, so you don't have to.
well, thank you.
I I don't know how much of a crutch you want to give it because it was made during COVID, but the random release that it came out
Yeah.
like 5 years later, I don't know why it did. It's absolutely terrible. The story is awful. The acting is terrible. Product placement is blatant. Everything you want to say bad about how a movie can go wrong, it did. Yes, I know there's some people out there trying to give it a band-aid by being under COVID, but I don't care if it was made under great auspices. Bad movies are bad movies, and this is a truly horrible movie. It has earned a 0% Rotten Tomatoes, and it's funny because there's actually a Sylvester Stallone movie which has also earned that dishonor. And there's only been like 15 or so. I was reading the list all time that have, and two of them are from this year. But yeah, the worst part about what I can say is that actually I think it reached number two as far as popularity, as far as Amazon. What does that say about us as a society when so many people, just even on like Netflix, when Netflix brings out, they bring out their shovelware version, like going back to the old Wii days. What does it say when so many people are watching such bad content that is just absolutely just is not justifiable on any media platform such as this? So I'm going to say that blatantly. I'm sorry to Ice Cube. I've enjoyed his work over the years, but yeah, there's no excuse for this one. This War of the Worlds is absolutely a train wreck.
Yeah, yeah. I heard about it. I haven't watched it myself, but I was actually having a conversation with a coworker today because Ice Cube was their favorite rapper. And I said, "Oh, well, did you see the new movie that he's in, War of the Worlds?" And they was like, "I didn't even know he was in a movie." I said, "A lot of people didn't because a lot of people didn't know about this film. It kind of just stealth released, and it by and large, from what I understand, sucks. I haven't seen it personally, so I won't be the one to say it. You've seen it personally, so you can say it, and I appreciate your willingness to land on the mine and take the sword for this one because
Yes.
I had no intention on seeing it. And now with you continuing to solidify my approach to it, I won't be seeing it. I think what this says, to answer your initial question, I think what this says is that numbers don't tell everything. And yes, you can have a popularity of two, but be an absolute horrible film because it's such a train wreck that everybody kind of wants to see how much of a train wreck it really is. Um, when you look at those Nelson, those ratings and viewership and et cetera, they don't always tell they don't always tell an accurate they don't always paint an accurate picture, and that's kind of why you have these people that like to fight with the talking head and the basketball pundits, especially when we have the Jordan versus LeBron debate or the Jordan versus Kobe debate or who's better or who's the best and da 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 da, and they want to throw out all these different numbers and all these different statistics and all these different analytics and break down his fourth quarter points per game versus whatever the standard is, right? But everybody likes to go to numbers. And the truth of the matter is that numbers don't tell the whole story. They tell a big part of it, and the numbers don't lie, absolutely. But they don't tell the entirety of a situation. There are other aspects that have to be taken into consideration. Same thing with the viewership being number two, as far as the viewership and popularity, doesn't mean it's a good movie. It just means that people enjoy a train wreck, and people were so stunned by this random release of a movie that nobody asked for a remake of with a
That
star
was
that
made
nobody
5 years
thought
ago.
that yeah, that was made 5 years ago, was released this year. Nobody asked for a remake, nobody knew of a remake, nobody expected a remake, and lo and behold, here it is. Probably should have never seen the light of day like the Batgirl film. That really should have, but that's another conversation for another day. It's just it doesn't tell a complete story. It doesn't tell uh it doesn't tell you that the movie's bad. It just tells you that people have tuned in to see it. But at the end of the day, a bad movie is a bad movie, and the fact that it got a 0% on Rotten Tomato, which I don't always go off of Rotten Tomato. I
And
don't.
I
I'm not
don't
a.
either. I don't
I know
usually
you
like
don't
it
either.
either, but
Yeah,
that tells you
but
something right there.
zero tells you something. Like if Rotten Tomato gave you a zero, then that's a bit of a That's a bit of a that's a very telling thing. So, thanks for falling on the sword, but I'm straight. I have no desire to see it.
It tells me two things. It tells me the fact that in the streaming world that they can release almost anything as far as content and people watch it. And B, it just that it's the car crash mentality. When
Yep.
you drive by a car crash, you cannot help but look. And this was a catastrophe of the highest order. And if you guys don't want to see it, I really, really strongly do not recommend you to see it. If you want to see what a disaster looks like, go ahead, watch War of the Worlds, and you'll hate yourself for it for the weeks and months and years to come. It is without a doubt the worst movie I've seen this century, and I've really put some thought. And the fact I'm putting some thought in the fact is it the worst movie I've seen all time tells you something right there. So for TJ Johnson, this is Gerald Glassford. Any last thoughts, my friend, before we head on out?
No, Gerald, what are you playing nowadays? What game has your attention besides the Battlefield 6 open beta that's coming out? What are you playing right now? I'm
That's
curious.
right now it's Assassin's Creed because I had that on the PC.
Ah,
I got that and I hadn't even
mm,
touched it really. So I'm playing a little bit of that. But I really want to have a conversation with you upcoming on the remakes, like Gradius, Shinobi, Ninja
mm,
Gaiden,
mm,
stuff like that. As far as being able to get back into that world, because we're seeing a lot of remakes or add-ons or extensions of series from years gone by, and it's interesting to see how that's really gone to become something in 2025. So I'm thinking I'm getting into that. Gradius is kind of really interesting, and the Hexen remake as well. So we'll have to see if I delve
mm,
into
okay.
that this weekend as well.
Sounds good, my friend.
So for TJ Johnson, this is Gerald Glassford. It's another beautiful day in paradise right here in the PCC Multiverse. We thank you for listening. And please, for the love of God, do not see War of the Worlds. And here's hoping you have yourself a great